Yeah, so hi everyone, we're back on the Diary of a Startup Founder, and I'm sitting here with Gina. Hi, Gina.
Hi, so pleased to be here. Thanks for inviting me on.
Thank you so much for coming. So, how are you doing?
Good. I'm glad of a little bit of cooler weather today because I have been
Yes,
melting the last
finally.
few weeks.
I know the heat wave.
Yeah.
But yeah, so before we get into Evodure, I want to talk about how your life was before startup. How was it before entrepreneurship?
Oh wow, big question. Directly before I started all of this, like the entrepreneurship journey in general, I was living in New York, working at City Private Bank, in the mortgage sector. And I was just having a crisis at that point where I was sitting there one day and I was going, all I'm doing is making rich people richer. This
Yeah.
isn't fulfilling me at all. So whenever I moved home, like the big question on my mind was, what can I do for the rest of my life that will bring me joy and fulfillment in all aspects of my life? And that's hobbies, work, everything. So I just cleared the deck and started from scratch.
That is so sweet. That is actually like the mindset shift, like, instead of like working in a very corporate world,
Mhm.
you want to do something that will help people.
Absolutely, because originally I started off, my degree was politics, philosophy, and economics, which I don't know if you know John Barry, but like he's like a big lecturer here at Queen's.
Yeah.
He gets in your head in the best way possible. So actually, whenever I graduated, I ended up environmental education, and I really loved having meaningful work. So it was just a question of how do I get back to that, in a really sustainable way for me.
So nice. So nice. I remember we met on like the Quest program.
Hmm.
So I want to know, like, if someone told you 5 years ago, like, you'd be on the Quest program, you'd be starting your own journey, like your own startup, like, what would you say?
You must be talking about somebody else. Like, I know I've got one of those faces that maybe mistakes for somebody else, but you must be talking about somebody else because entrepreneurship wasn't even on my radar at all. I was never thinking to myself, oh, I could run my own business or I have any ideas that would translate into something that would make
Hmm.
money or do good in the world or any of those things that they're meant to be. I was just very, I mean, growing up, the education was very much go to university, get your degree, get a job afterwards, and that'll take you through the rest of your life. And yet, in the last decade, everything has shifted so much, especially with social media. Content creation, if you told me 20 years ago, 15 years ago that that was a real job, I would have laughed at you. I would have been like, that's not possible. So, even that landscape where content creation, influencing, all of that, that shift has been phenomenal, and has opened up so many doors in a way that wouldn't have been possible 5 years ago, even for me, anyway.
But I mean, like, since the past like 5 to 10 years, like,
Hmm.
the entire career aspects have changed a lot.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like, people are actually interested in startups right now, and especially in Belfast because we
Hmm.
have like a really small community, especially with startups. Not many people talk about it, and now like there's so many things going on. You got like Catalyst programs, you got like
Yeah.
Armor Labs programs. It's so cool, like, to see all of them come together and like support like entrepreneurs.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Belfast is one of the coolest cities, I think, to be becoming a founder, doing a startup, because the community is so small.
Yeah,
So those introductions are so much easier to get than if you were in a big city like London, where even just finding that
yeah,
network and that community is so much harder. Whereas Belfast, all you really need to know are a couple of people who'll know a couple of
yeah.
people who know. It spirals quite
Like a chain.
quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And everybody just wants you to do well. And I think that that's a really lovely thing. Because on you know yourself, it's hard.
It's
It's a
hard.
lonely journey, so you need that community behind you. You need that network, to support you. And I mean, this is just a testament to the
Yeah.
network that there is.
No, I know. It's hard to find people that actually support you, but
Hmm.
because it's so small, because Belfast is just a small community, it's like a home. It's like a big
Yeah.
family we have. But yeah, what was like so for our viewers who don't know, can you explain something about Evodure?
Yeah. So Evodure is a bit of a random name. I know that. I've toyed about changing it several times because I
No, no,
understand
no,
that
no,
it
I
can be
like it.
tricky on the outset, but it actually stands for the evolution of endurance. So This was born out of a journey of chronic pain and chronic health issues. And anybody who's experienced that will know that really your reality is just endurance. So I wanted to find out a new way that the relationship with that endurance could shift, not necessarily in a positive way, but at least be neutral, because oftentimes when something goes wrong in your body, I mean, even just think about when you have the flu, your mindset of how you view your body shifts so fundamentally, because all of a sudden it's an enemy rather than an ally. So enduring that for such a length of time, it becomes a really funky mindset.
Yeah.
So I just want to try and change how people perceive that, which is the evolution of endurance.
That's nice, man. Like, you want to help people. The thing is, there's so many people out there that are facing these issues with chronic pain. I know so many people. I'm literally one of them. And on it, no one talks about it. No one talks about it with anybody, even with their family members. A lot of people keep it secretive, like, oh, it'll go away, it'll go away. It doesn't go away.
No, and there's
It
a lot
really
of
doesn't.
shame and embarrassment, and a lot of people don't want to either shift other people's perception of them, appear weak, or become a burden in any shape, size, or fashion. And I mean, in society as a whole, we are a lot more individualistic now. Maybe 100 years ago, there would have been a bit more of a community around. If something went wrong for somebody, there would have been several people there to uplift them. I mean, we had dedicated people in the home at that stage as well. And society's never really caught up to the fact that we need to work slightly. This is going to go on a bit of a tangent. I'll come back around. But we need to catch up to the fact that we're trying to do it all in a way that it was never built for. So when the systems, that 30 to 40 hour work week was built on somebody being at home full time, that's not the case anymore. And that's a fantastic thing. And it should be that way. But the dynamic never course corrected. So we're all still working those hours while trying to maintain a home, when it was never meant to be that way. We should have reduced our working week so that that balance could be readjusted. That's a side note, but it brings me back to we have to be more individualistic now, which means that perception of being a burden is so much more accessible, and you don't want to talk about your pain to anybody else, because you don't want to become that extra chore for them, even though you'll never be a chore for people that love you. That will never be the case. They will only ever want to help you. But that's not your perception. And I just want to allow people to explore those emotions in a safe way that helps them reconnect with their body.
That's really sweet. It's almost like you're trying to prevent people from facing like an insecurity with their body.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people do right now. And what would you think, what would be the first step for them to do?
Get to know your body again. And I don't mean like in a way that you have to get out of your... This whole thing is, when you're in chronic pain, I mean, I spent a month there at the beginning of the year, bedbound. I had to plan my trips to the bathroom because it took me that long to get out of bed. So 20 minutes before I was like, okay, this is going to be an emergency, I had to start moving to get out of bed. It was really bad. So in terms of, you might not be able to go out for a walk and start, that might not even be an accessible first step for you, no pun intended. But it's the case of, how do you get back into your body? And I find, I mean, this is thousands of years old, breath work to be a fantastic way of doing that. Just reconnecting in via your breath, like even just a big deep belly breath in, and feeling that all the way down in your belly stretch out. All of a sudden, you're back in your body in a really safe way.
It's amazing. Like you said, when you talked about like breathwork being like ancient in a sense, so you're trying to take all that.
It's ancient wisdom, yeah. I mean, I have to laugh because every time you hear something from Eastern medicine, like ancient practices, Western science backs it up like thousands of years later, and you're just kind of like, yeah, it's ancient instinctual wisdom and that worked for thousands of years. All it was is like repackaged. Yeah. And I mean, you're doing the exact same thing with your skincare, and I think it's so empowering to be able to bring that into society in a modern way. I mean, really all I'm doing is repackaging that ancient wisdom in a more digestible format for
Girl, I
folks
get
on
you.
the whole. That's it. That's
I get
all.
you. Was there like a defining moment about like Evodure? Like, what made you be like, right, I need to do something about this. I need to start a company, or I need to fix this problem.
It was no one defining moment. There was just a lot of repeatable layers that ended up. So, again, it started with my own chronic pain. I mean, that is not a typical story. It was my own problem. So I just originally, actually, when the Quest program first started, this was meant to be a physiotherapy app because I fundamentally misunderstood the problem. And God, that's a hard thing to admit.
Yeah, no.
But I thought the problem was just people don't do the rehab properly because they're not motivated enough. That's was me in denial about why I was where I was at with my mentality. And when I dug a little bit deeper, that just wasn't the case. Yes, there was still a fundamental problem with motivation, but it wasn't coming from the case of physiotherapy isn't enjoyable. It is boring. There's no doubt about that. But it's the case of as soon as you enter that pain mindset, your body becomes tense and stressed and so much more inaccessible just by virtue.
Yeah.
And really, as I went through and started actually hearing what the interviewees, the other patients, were saying, that fundamentally changed everything. I mean, I got a piece of advice along the way, which was fall in love with the problem. And I was like, I'm not even 100% sure what the problem is that I'm solving. And I spent, I think, 4 months trying to just distill the problem and then revisited all of the work. And this iteration is where we've got to now with it. But in terms of when I went, oh, this actually needs to be a thing, I think I had twigged from my own set of practices that I was in a position, a really, really privileged position, by the way, now to communicate that to other people. And as soon as you have an idea, or at least in my opinion, as soon as you have an idea that you think will benefit the rest of the world, whether that's a piece of art, whether that's a new piece of technology, it is your duty to get that out to everybody else. I mean, the sense of duty that is beholden to me right now is insane. It was not something I ever expected to feel at any point in my life, but it's such a big motivator.
So nice. I feel like you're like I love your passion towards like I want to help people with this because I had this issue and I can relate to that. Like having an issue yourself and getting into the position, and like you said, like right now you're at a stage where like I'm ready to help people. I'm ready to fix this. You have a brand, you have a company, and like that's an amazing position to be in. So congratulations for that. Honestly, good job.
It's slow progress, but progress is progress.
Exactly. Every step.
Every step.
But yeah, I feel like every founder, like even myself, we all have like chapters we don't talk about. We don't post on LinkedIn. We don't post on social media. We don't tell anybody. Is there something like that happened with Evodure?
Yeah, I definitely was in the pits of fear and despair probably around October, November last year, whenever I realized I had got it entirely wrong. Like the concept was good. It was solid, but it wasn't going to work. And I just had to acknowledge that. And I had so much fear because obviously when you're on this journey, you are speaking to so many people and you are doing a lot of self-promotion. And then to take a step back and go, actually, guys, I have to take this in a different direction. The pivot is so scary, but so necessary. And I mean, again, the community understands that. And I mean, a lot of it is more to do with how you fear you're going to be perceived than the actual perception. It's again the stories that we tell ourselves that hold us back. And I will tell you this for free, the community on LinkedIn, whenever I have been my more vulnerable side, everybody rallies behind you. Like, it is such a lovely feeling to have that support. And it's not something I would shy away from. And I think it's a really important thing to be vulnerable and allow people to see what the real journey looks like. But I'll tell you, I wasn't for telling anybody probably 9 months ago that this needed to change. I was very, very scared about that.
Oh my God. I feel like whenever you have a certain like impression like set, being like, okay, so my company does this, like you've told a lot of people, but then you go home and you're like, actually wait, you gotta change it, and now you get scared of, like, what they might think about you, or what if they don't like it, what if I don't get customers, or everything.
I suppose I've had such a varied work history anyway, so I'm always terrified that it's going to look like I'm flaky or flip-flopping. But it's just adapting to new information at the end of the day. And if you're not willing to evolve as you go, then really you're not embracing all of the information that's being handed to you. So you're going to end up doing a disservice to whatever it is. I mean, before the pivot, this was meant to be a B2C or B2B product, a business to business product. So, but I didn't want to solve a problem for physios. I wanted to solve a problem for patients. I wanted to solve a problem for the people who were going through the pain, not for the people who were treating it. And I just couldn't be enthusiastic about solving a problem for physios. And I was just, how are you meant to carry forward one of the hardest things you're going to do, a startup, without that enthusiasm? You have to be fired up about it. And I think fundamentally there was something changed my brain chemistry quite recently, which is I always thought I was quite a passionless person. Like I have a lot of strong opinions, and like I haven't met a hill that I wasn't willing to die on. But one thing that really changed my brain chemistry was passion is the opposite of frustration. And I was just like, oh, I get it now. I'm frustrated by this problem. Therefore, I am going to be so passionate about it, because the frustration, I could understand that ran deep. And passion is just the expression of that frustration in a way that moves it forward positively.
Wow. Sorry, that took me a minute to like take it.
That's I can't even remember where I heard it, but that was credit to who that was, because that just changed everything for me. That changed my whole like outview on life, not just my startup journey.
That's crazy. Like the things that you learn when you're starting a company, like it changes your mindset about a lot of things. Wow. That's deep.
Right?
Yeah, I'm still trying to like register.
Me too, don't worry about it.
No, but that's wild. I feel like from that, like, was there any assumption that you had about startup companies that changed while building one?
Yeah. And I think this is more just a reflection on the fact that women move in silence quite a lot. We're not big on self-promotion, and I think that does us a huge disservice. So I'm going to start there, because a lot of the times whenever you see a startup journey, it is a male founder, and they love to show the grind. Like that is their big thing. Like, oh yeah, I had to wake up at 5 a.m, take my cold plunge, do my journaling, and then I got into my day, and then I worked until midnight. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll never be able to do that. I have a chronic illness and I live in chronic pain. My energy fluctuates day to day, week to week. And it wasn't until I started talking to other female founders that I realized that we take things in a whole different pace, and it's so much healthier, it's so much more balanced. And a lot of the times women become founders as part of their story anyway, because they need that life balance.
Yeah.
And I know that it is a 24/7 journey. It is, you don't really ever switch off in the same way that you can with a normal 9 to 5, but it's your journey. You're the one molding it. So if you want to do the grind, more power to you. I respect it, that discipline. It could never be me. I was just so shocked that my life felt healthier rather than run down.
Yeah.
I think that was the biggest thing for me, because I could choose how that journey looked.
I feel like whenever you do things like that, like you wake up at 5 a.m, you go to the gym, you do this, I'm just like, how have you that? Like, how do you have the time?
Well, I mean,
I'm like, I don't know if it's about like maintenance things. Like, women and men like maintenance issues, like differences. But I'm sitting there, I'm like, I can wake up at 5 a.m, but I don't think I could do all of that.
No.
I don't know if that's just my thing.
But I mean, no, you have to remember, on a hormonal level, men are on a 24-hour cycle, not a 28-day one.
Yeah.
So they wake up every morning feeling the way they did when they woke up yesterday morning, and they're going to feel the same tomorrow.
I'm like a different person every week.
Exactly. So like our time span is so different, and that's okay, but it just needs to be like, we can't hold ourselves to the same standard in the way of that kind of grind. And I think it would be a disservice to us to try to do so. It suits some people, it suits other people. Again, it couldn't be me.
Perks of being a woman. Well, that's crazy. But yeah, I guess like when you're working in health tech, like you kind of understand all of that.
Yeah.
But like, what's been like the most challenging thing working in the health tech industry? Like, well, starting a company in health tech.
For me, I wake up in fear sometimes because I'm like, am I doing the most ethical thing that I can do every day? Because this is people's lives.
Yeah.
And it's, I know that all companies are people's lives, but this is like a really fundamental part that I'm trying to reach.
Yeah.
And I suppose every day I'm just kind of like, okay, is this the most ethical approach I can take? Am I going to do any harm with this? Like, that is my safeguard no matter what. I go, if somebody was to do this, would this cause them harm? And I've done a whole bunch of research into the side effects of everything that I'm up to, just to try and make sure that either people are aware of what it is that they're going into, or that there is just that rigor, because there are a lot more clever people who have done a lot more research than into the actual techniques themselves. And I'm just trying to do that justice. So I suppose for me, the fear is to do with the ethics and making sure that I do no harm. That is my mantra every day. It's do no harm. It might not work at all, but at least I'm not doing harm.
You have a principle you're following.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't break that principle. I like your principle.
I think it's good for all areas of life.
I think it's good. I think it's good for every area in your life. I feel like as a founder, whenever you're starting something, like you start with a certain, like a heart, you know?
Yeah.
It's more than your mind, you're using your heart. You're like, this is my baby.
Yeah.
That's how you feel about it. Then you have like a set of, like, again, principles that you're using. For me, it's like, it'll be like transparency for the customer.
Yeah.
For you, it would do no harm.
Yeah.
So I feel like whenever you're sticking with that, like I feel like you grow when you stick with that. For me, the greatest businessmen and women I've seen have stuck with their principles.
Yeah.
No matter what happens. They've been like, I will not go down this path no matter what the situation. So I really respect that.
Yeah, I think you really do have to know where your values are at.
Yeah.
Especially before it even becomes like the brand mission. You have to know what your own personal mission is, because that's going to be your guiding light when things go wrong, and things are going to go wrong.
Things will go wrong. Things will go wrong. That's just life.
That's just life.
That's just life. But yeah. But I want to ask you if, like you said you work with breath work. So do you have any like tiny exercises or something that someone who is facing these issues, like with chronic pain and all, that they can do at home, something for our viewers?
100%. My favorite one is the sympathetic sigh. So I'm going to demonstrate it because it's still quite a hard thing to explain. So basically you take a deep breath in. And when you think you can't take any more, you do. And that little extra one. And then you let it out. And I'm telling you, do that 3 times, you're going to be a new human being. That's my quickest reset. Like if I'm doing anything that's kind of got me tense, because tension will cause pain. Pain is dialed up by stress and tension. So the more you can dial the tension and stress back, the less sharp the pain will be. That's the theory. It's pretty well proven. And that's the principle that we're kind of working on. It also gives your body that chance to reduce the cortisol, improve a little bit of dopamine in there. That would be nice. That's what the story element of Evodure is for. It's to help release the dopamine, because you're being taken on a journey that's immersive and hopefully, if I've done my job right, enjoyable. And these techniques are just embedded through. So you can either listen to the narrator, myself at this point, the budget is zero. So everybody's just going to have to stick with my dulcet tones. You can either just listen to the narrator or you join in yourself and get the full benefits. But co-regulation is such an interesting principle in and of itself. So for anybody listening there at home who maybe has an anxious partner or a loved one, if they're having a really anxious time, if you focus on your breath work, they will start to immediately pick up on that because we are community creatures. We co-regulate. Think about a baby. If you pick a baby, crying baby up and you start shushing it and that's co-regulation. And that still applies when we're adults. So the best thing you can do is regulate yourself to help regulate somebody who is having a hard moment. So this isn't a journey that you have to take alone in any. If you're feeling, on the flip side of things, if you're our carer or a loved one is in this situation, there's a lot that you can do in terms of that isn't just bringing them a cup of tea or whatever. That's lovely. But if they're having a difficult moment, try and remember to regulate yourself first because they will pick up on that instantly. That is just how we work. That's how we're hardwired as herd creatures. Like we didn't evolve to be solo. We evolved to be in community. So that would be my fastest breath work tip, to be honest. Like that is the one I have found time and time again is the best. Everything else would be moving more towards the grounding side of things. But if you just need to get back into your body dead quick and relax, that's the one I'd go for.
I want you to like imagine like if we're sitting again here 5 years later, what would be a story you want to say about your company?
Oh, so many aspirations. I would love to be able to be doing this full time in 5 years' time. That would be number one.
Yeah.
I'm not looking to get rich out of this, but I would like to keep food on the table. That's goal number one. Goal number two, and more fundamentally, because, you know, there's no guarantees that this will be financially sustainable, right? And that's just a reality. But I can't see myself actually giving this up now. So even if this was to become a hobby in the background, if I could help, I'm going to say 10 people. I think that would be pretty hefty.
Yeah.
If I could help one, that's amazing. If I could help 10, I've done a good job because I'm a big fan of the ripple effect. So
yeah,
when you help one person, that helps a person and helps a person and helps a person. So really, the expansion of it is so much more. But gosh, if I could get some people feeling more comfortable and confident again in their bodies, because you just live in that tension. You end up living in a little bit of fear, whether you realize it or not, because you don't want to move in a certain way or twist or make a choice where you're going to end up in a pain or a flare up, or you're just constantly monitoring everything you do. You're monitoring your body and you don't want to make friends with it. It's not the enemy. It's doing its best. It's doing what it was told to do, designed to do. And it's going to keep trying to protect you unless you can coach it out of that way. So the mechanisms behind chronic pain, I'm by no means an expert. There are people who study this and gosh, they are clever. But the whole thing is you end up in these maladaptive coping positions which hold you tense. And that, let me put it to you this way, pain, have you ever done something that you've not been good at and practiced it until you were?
Yes.
Like it just becomes an automatic reflex. I think about driving, where you're shifting gears and checking your mirrors. And like when you start off, that's like really hard to remember to do all of those things. But then a year later, once you've passed your test and all the rest, it's second nature. Pain pathways are the exact same. So your body gets really good at learning pain. And the longer it's there, the more established those networks are. It becomes a reflex. So that will hold you in pain, and you have to then retrain your body to get out of that. Now, that's none of my business because there are people who are a lot more clever to do that. And there's some brilliant companies out there who are doing just that. My whole aspect is sometimes you can't even get your mindset in the place that you need it to be to take that step of how to rewire. I just want to get you in a place that's a little bit more neutral so that you can start even making the decisions that you need to learn to have compassion for your body again.
That is so sweet. You have a really clear mission, and I feel like a lot of people don't talk about mental health and pain coming in together. Like, people do talk about breath work and, you know, how it helps like you mentally, but no one talks about how breath work will help you kind of feel more confident and happy with your body. But that was amazing. Thank you so much, Gina.
No, thank you.
Show. All the best for the future endeavors.
I mean, if you want to keep up with me, follow me on Instagram, Evolution of Endurance.
Yes.
And gosh, we'll see how it goes.
I can't, 5 years later, we're going to have this chat again.
5 years later, I will hopefully have a list of good reviews of people who are feeling more confident and calm in their body. That's my goal.
Amazing. And I do hear that you are getting people like testers.
Oh yeah, so anytime anybody wants to test it, we are just making sure, doing all of the fine tuning. So running a pilot is just about doing the fine tuning. Our original test group found benefits that even I find shocking, so I really want to rerun the tests just to double check.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to make any claims that aren't 100% true, do no harm. So yeah, we're recruiting for testers right now, test listeners. Basically, you'll be taken on a 4-weekish kind of a journey, different lengths of audios between 1 minute and 20 minutes, and you get taken on a little journey through a forest, a cabin, just living life in a really peaceful, relaxed way, because the brain's not very good at telling the difference between imaginary and reality. So if you can imagine something in enough detail, especially nature, you're going to feel those benefits without setting foot outside the door. And I just really want you to come along on that journey, whether it's chronic pain or anxiety, or this is born from a chronic pain aspect, but really, if you need somewhere for your mind to rest, Evodure's for you.
Follow Evodure, guys. Instagram, LinkedIn, let's go. I'm getting on this. I'm getting on this. But yeah, thank you so much.
No, thank you. I'm so flattered.
Thank you.